At the family reunion, my sister's kids got $500 each from Grandma. My 3 kids got nothing. When my son asked why, Grandma said loudly, "Because your mommy made bad choices, and you're the result." My son was 6. I picked up my crying children and left without a word. That night, I removed Grandma from my lake house deed, the family vacation home she bragged about owning, when she tried to book it for her 75th birthday and found out she had 0 legal rights. My name is Deborah. I'm 33, a hairdresser, and I'm the kind of person who keeps snacks in my purse just in case. I have 3 kids. Aiden is 6, Maya is 9. Caleb is 11. I'm the one in my family who shows up early, cleans up after, and makes sure nobody leaves hungry. I don't love drama. I don't post vague quotes on Facebook. I just work, parent, and try to keep my head above water. That day was the annual family reunion at my aunt's house. You know the kind. Paper plates, warm soda, someone's dog begging for burgers. Kids running everywhere like tiny chaos machines. My mom had already warned me in the car ride over. "Just be polite," she said, staring straight ahead. "Don't start anything." I remember thinking, start anything? I'm literally just bringing potato salad and 3 children. When we walked in, my sister was already posted up at the center of the living room like she was hosting. Her 2 kids were in brand new outfits. Mine had clean clothes too, but not boutique matching sets clean. More like Target sale rack and prayers clean. My grandma was sitting in her favorite chair holding court. Grandma Shirley is 74 and she's the type who calls people sweetheart in a tone that means I hate you. She's also the type who loves money as a concept, especially when it's used to control people. I did my usual rounds. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Aunt Linda. Hi, Uncle Rob. Polite. Smiling. Neutral. Then Grandma clapped her hands and said loudly, "Okay, kids, come here." All the kids swarmed her like she was a vending machine. She pulled out envelopes. I noticed my sister's kids got called first. Of course. "Here you go, my babies," Grandma said, smiling like she'd never said a mean thing in her whole life. $500 each. "Don't waste it," my sister's son squealed. "500?" My sister laughed and kissed Grandma's cheek. "Mom, you didn't have to." Grandma beamed. "For them, I wanted to." Then Grandma handed another envelope. Another. I watched her pass them out like she was doing some weird little award ceremony. My kids stood there too, waiting. Quiet. Caleb looked at me confused. Maya's smile faded. Aiden just clutched my leg. Grandma's pile of envelopes ran out. My stomach dropped because I realized what was happening. Aiden, in his small, serious voice, looked up at Grandma and asked, "Did we get one too?" The room went weirdly quiet in that way family rooms do when someone's about to say something cruel but everybody pretends it's normal. Grandma didn't even hesitate. She looked straight at my 6-year-old and said, loudly, like she wanted everybody to hear, "Because your mommy made bad choices and you're the result." There was a tiny gasp from someone near the kitchen. My sister made a face like, "Oops," but didn't say a word. My mom's eyes flicked to me, then away. Aiden's face crumpled. He didn't fully understand, but he understood enough. Maya's eyes filled with tears instantly. Caleb's jaw tightened like he was trying to be brave, but he was still a kid. I just stood there for a second, frozen. My brain was doing that thing where it tries to pretend you didn't just hear what you heard. Then I heard Aiden start crying. Like real crying. Not whining, the kind that makes your chest hurt. And Grandma? Grandma leaned back like she'd just delivered the truth of the century. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I didn't make a speech. I bent down, scooped Aiden up, grabbed Maya's hand, and told Caleb, "Shoes. Now." My sister finally said, "Deborah, don't be dramatic." I looked at her and said, very quietly, "Don't." Then I walked out. Behind me, Grandma's voice floated after us, casual as a weather report. If she can't handle honesty, in the driveway, Maya sobbed into my hoodie sleeve. Caleb kept blinking hard. Aiden shook in my arms. I strapped them into the car with shaking hands. And I drove home in silence, hearing Grandma's words on repeat like a bad song you can't turn off. That night, after the kids finally fell asleep, I sat at my kitchen table staring at my phone. My hands were still trembling. And I thought, okay, if that's how she wants to play it, then we're done pretending. Not with yelling, not with begging, with paperwork. Let me explain the bad choices Grandma loves to talk about. When I was 21, I got pregnant with Caleb. The father panicked and disappeared, like fully vanished. New number, new job, whole reset. I didn't have the luxury of falling apart. I went to cosmetology school during the day, waited tables at night, and slept in 2-hour chunks like a robot someone forgot to fully charge. By 25, I had 2 kids. By 27, I had 3. And yes, I was a single mom. And yes, it was hard. But it wasn't some moral failure. It was life. I built a career anyway. I started as the walk-in girl at a salon where the owner called me kiddo and paid me like I was lucky to breathe her air. I took every appointment. I did kids' cuts with screaming toddlers. I did color corrections that took 6 hours and ruined my wrists. I did bridal hair at 6 a.m. for clients who acted like I was their servant. I saved every tip. Slowly, I built my own book. My own clients. People who asked for me by name. Eventually, I rented a chair at a better salon. Then I rented a small suite. I remember the first month I paid my suite rent on time and still had money left for groceries. I cried in my car. My family? They loved the idea of me being strong. They just didn't like the part where I stopped being useful. My sister Tracy is 2 years older than me and has always been treated like the main character. Tracy married well in the eyes of the family. Her husband has one of those jobs nobody understands, but it sounds expensive. They live in a nice house. 2 kids. Vacation photos. Tracy also has a talent for making everything about her. If I said, "I'm tired," Tracy would say, "Try being a mom with real responsibilities." If I said, "Money is tight," Tracy would say, "Well, you chose your life." Grandma Shirley worships Tracy because Tracy looks good on paper. Married. Nice house. Proper. Me? I'm the cautionary tale they like to point at when they want to feel superior. Here's the part that matters. 3 years ago, I bought a small lake house. Before anyone screams, "Hairdressers can't afford lake houses," listen. It's not a mansion, it's an old 2-bedroom cabin about 2 hours away. I found it cheap because it needed work and because the seller was desperate. I bought it for 2 reasons. I wanted my kids to have something calm, something ours. I wanted an investment that wasn't, "Hope my rent doesn't go up again." I did the renovations myself with YouTube videos and a man named Luis from Home Depot who kept telling me, "Ma'am, you sure?" When the family found out, they acted like I'd discovered fire. A lake house? My mom said, "Deborah, that's impressive." Grandma Shirley suddenly became very interested. At Sunday dinner, she said, "It would be so nice to have a family place. A legacy." I should have recognized that word, legacy. It's what people say when they want your stuff. At first, I kept it simple. "It's just for me and the kids," I said. Grandma smiled like a shark. "Oh, sweetheart," she said. "Family shares." Then the pressure started. "Tracy, so when can we come up?" "Mom, it would be selfish to keep it just for you." "Grandma, after everything I've done for this family, I deserve to enjoy it too." What had Grandma done for me? Mostly criticism and random opinions about my parenting. But they wore me down the way families do. Not with one big demand, with 1,000 little ones. It's not fair. You don't want to be the reason we don't have traditions. Your kids need cousins. Grandma isn't going to live forever. And then came the part that in hindsight was the trap. Grandma said, "Put me on it, just so it stays in the family." I said no at first. Then she cried, like full tears. In a restaurant, people stared. My mom looked at me like I'd kicked a puppy. Grandma sniffed and said loudly, "I just want to know my grandchildren will always have a place." But I guess Deborah doesn't care. I felt humiliated. I felt cornered. So I did something I regret. I didn't put Grandma on the deed directly. I'm not that clueless, but I did something close enough. I set the property under a small family LLC. My accountant suggested it for liability. And I gave Grandma a tiny membership share because everyone promised it was just symbolic. Symbolic. Yeah. You know what happened the moment Grandma thought she had a claim? She started bragging. At church, my lake house is such a blessing. At family dinners, we should go to my place next weekend. To my kids, you're lucky I provided that cabin for you. I paid the mortgage. I paid the taxes. I paid for repairs when the water heater broke. I handled it. Grandma contributed exactly $0 and somehow gained maximum ownership energy. It got worse when Tracy started treating it like a resort. She would text, "Hey, we're coming Friday." Not asking. Telling. And if I said no, Tracy would say, "Wow, so the cabin matters more than family." Grandma would call and sigh dramatically. You know Tracy's children deserve memories too. Meanwhile, my kids were the ones getting insulted to their faces. And I kept swallowing it because I thought, maybe if I keep the peace, things will stay calm. Then the reunion happened. And Grandma didn't just insult me. She went for my 6-year-old. In public. Like it was entertainment. That's what flipped the switch in me. Because I can handle people thinking I'm a screw-up? I've heard it before, but I will not stand there and let a grown woman shame my child and call it honesty. That night, I stared at my phone and I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt clear, and when I feel clear, I get dangerous in the most boring way possible. Not screaming. Emails, documents, signatures. The next morning, my phone was already blowing up. Tracy, so you just left? In front of everyone? Mom, your grandmother is devastated. Aunt Linda, Deborah, apologize. That was embarrassing. No one asked how my kids were. No one said what Grandma said was wrong. It was all about Grandma's feelings. Grandma's pride. Grandma's image. I didn't answer right away because I was busy making pancakes and trying to explain to Aiden gently that he didn't do anything wrong. He looked up at me with red puffy eyes and asked, "Am I a bad choice?" I swear I felt something in my chest, tear. I knelt down and said, "No, you are my best thing. You hear me, you're my best thing." He nodded, but he didn't fully believe it yet. And that made me furious in a calm way. Around noon, Grandma called. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted me. All I did was tell the truth. Then she sent another. "Maybe if you had made better choices, your children would have better lives. Then you owe me an apology." I didn't respond. Instead, I called my accountant first. Then I called the attorney who helped set up my LLC. When the attorney answered, I said, "I need to know exactly what my options are, today." She didn't ask why, she just said, "Okay, tell me what's happening." I told her everything. The reunion, the money, the bragging, the entitlement, the part where my kid asked if he was a bad choice. There was a pause. Then my attorney said, "Deborah, you're allowed to protect your kids, and you're allowed to protect your asset." That sentence hit me harder than I expected, because no one in my family had ever spoken to me like that. Like I was allowed. That night, my mom tried the come to Jesus approach. She came over after work, sat at my kitchen table, and did the tired sigh. "Deborah," she started, "your grandmother is old school. She doesn't mean it the way you take it." I stared at her. She said my son is the result of my bad choices. Mom winced like she was inconvenienced by the quote. You know she believes in consequences. She said it to a 6-year-old. Mom leaned forward. "Okay, and? You're going to punish the whole family because you're sensitive?" That word. Sensitive. It was the family's favorite weapon. I said, "My kids cried all the way home." Mom shrugged. Actually shrugged. Kids cry. That's what they do. I felt my face go blank, and I said, very calmly, "Then this conversation is over." Mom's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" I stood up and opened the front door. "I'm not doing this," I said. "Not anymore." Mom got up slowly like she couldn't believe I was serious. She stepped toward me and hissed, "Don't you dare turn into one of those bitter women who keeps her kids away from family." I looked her dead in the eye. "I'm already that woman," I said. "If family means letting my children be humiliated." She left angry. Then Tracy called. She didn't even say hello. "What is your problem?" she snapped. I said, "Grandma hurt my kid." Tracy laughed, sharp and mean. "Oh my God, he's fine. He cried himself to sleep." Tracy sighed like I was being annoying. "Okay, but Grandma's planning her 75th at the lake house. We already told everyone it's next month." I blinked. "You already told everyone." "Yeah," Tracy said, like it was obvious. "It's Grandma's house too, Deb. She deserves it." There it was. Not, "Can we?" Not, "Would it be okay?" Just, "We decided, so you will obey." I felt oddly calm again. I said, "No." Tracy went silent. Then she exploded. "You can't say no, it's family." I said, "I'm saying no." Tracy started listing all the things Grandma did for me. None of them were real. Mostly emotional blackmail and vague history. I waited until she ran out of steam, then said, "Tracy, I'm done being punished for not being you." She spat. "You're jealous." I almost laughed. "I'm tired," I said. "And you're not getting that house." Tracy's voice turned sweet. Fake sweet. "Deborah," she said, "don't make me get Grandma involved." I said, "Please do," and I hung up. That same night, after I put the kids to bed, I sat at my laptop and joined a video call with my attorney. She pulled up the LLC documents. She pointed at the operating agreement and explained, in plain language, what I'd been too overwhelmed to understand back when I signed it. Grandma's share was non-voting. And there was a clause that allowed me as managing member to redeem a member's interest for a set amount if they violated conduct terms that harmed the LLC or its members. Back then, I thought it was boring legal fluff. Turns out, boring legal fluff saves lives. My attorney said, "Do you want to proceed?" I pictured Aiden's face. I heard Grandma's voice. I remembered the silence of the room, the way everyone let it happen. I said yes. So we did it. No fireworks, no screaming, just documents. I signed. My attorney sent the notice. Grandma's interest was redeemed for the exact amount stated in the agreement. A check would be mailed. And just like that, Grandma no longer had anything. Not symbolic, not social, not legal, nothing. I closed my laptop, sat back, and exhaled. I didn't feel guilty. I felt like I'd finally locked a door that should have been locked years ago. The fallout hit fast. 2 days later, Grandma called me 12 times in a row. I didn't answer. Then my aunt called, then my mom, then Tracy. Then people I hadn't talked to in years suddenly cared deeply about family unity. I got texts like, "You're tearing the family apart. You'll regret this when she's gone. Your kids need their grandmother." I wanted to reply, "Which one? The one who calls them mistakes?" But I didn't. I stayed quiet, because I knew what was coming. Grandma's birthday plans were already in motion. Tracy had been boasting, telling everyone they'd have Grandma's big 75th weekend at her lake house. Apparently, there was a guest list. A caterer. Matching shirts. I wish I was kidding. A week later, my cousin Jenna DM'd me, "Is it true Grandma can't book the lake house?" I just replied, "Correct." Then everything detonated. Tracy called me at 7:13 a.m. on a Tuesday. I answered because I was already awake packing lunches. Tracy didn't say hello. "What did you do?" I held the phone away from my ear for a second and said, "Good morning." "Stop," she snapped. "Grandma just tried to reserve the house for her birthday and the property manager said she has no rights." I kept my voice calm. "Because she has no rights." Tracy started yelling so hard I could hear Grandma in the background shouting too. Grandma grabbed the phone. Her voice was shaking with rage. "You evil girl." I almost corrected her that I'm 33, but whatever. She hissed, "How dare you humiliate me?" I said, "You humiliated my son." Grandma did that fake laugh again. "Oh, please, don't act like Mother of the Year." I looked at my kids at the table eating cereal quietly. Aiden was watching me with wide eyes like he was waiting to see if I'd break. So I didn't. I said, "You don't get to speak to my children like that. Ever again." Grandma screamed, "That house is mine." I said, "It's not." Then Grandma did something that honestly made me laugh a little. She said, "I'm going to sue you." I said, "Okay." And I meant it. Because she couldn't. She didn't even understand what she'd signed. She just liked the power she thought she had. Tracy took the phone back and went into full manipulation mode. "Deb," she said, suddenly softer, "come on, it's Grandma. It's her birthday. Just let us use it this once." I said, "No." Tracy's voice sharpened again. "You're doing this because you're bitter." I said, "I'm doing this because you're entitled." Then Tracy said, "You're going to make Grandma cry on her birthday?" I said, "She made my son cry at a barbecue." Silence. Then Tracy tried a new tactic. "What do you want?" she asked. Money? An apology? Like, what's the price here? That right there told me everything. To them, everything is a transaction. Even decency. I said, "I want you away from my kids." Tracy scoffed. "So dramatic." I said, "Lose my number." And I hung up. After that, it turned into a family smear campaign. My mom posted a vague Facebook status about children who forget their elders. My Aunt Linda messaged me a paragraph about respect. My Uncle Rob called me selfish, which was hilarious coming from the man who borrows tools and never returns them. The best part? They all said I was weaponizing the lake house, like I was some evil landlord. But none of them offered to pay the taxes. None of them offered to reimburse repairs. None of them offered to apologize to my son. They just wanted access. I didn't block them immediately. I just muted everything. Then, because they can't stand silence, they escalated. Tracy showed up at my salon suite. I was halfway through a blowout on a regular client when I saw Tracy in the mirror. She was standing behind my chair, arms crossed, with that fake smile. My client's eyes got wide like, is this about to be a scene? I leaned in close to my client and said softly, "I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second." I walked Tracy outside into the hallway. She hissed, "You're seriously doing this at work?" I said, You're seriously showing up at my job. Tracy shoved her phone in my face. It was a screenshot of Grandma's birthday invite, already sent out. Look, Tracy said. Everyone thinks it's happening. You're going to embarrass Grandma in front of the whole family. I stared at it. Then I said, maybe don't promise people something you don't own. Tracy's eyes flashed. You're a disgusting person, she snapped. You're punishing us because you're ashamed of your life. I felt my patience leave my body like a ghost. I said, Tracy, my kids are loved. We're stable. We're happy. I built that without you. Tracy laughed. You cut hair. I smiled. Yeah, I said, and the house is still mine. She looked like she wanted to slap me. Instead, she did the next best thing. She said, Grandma's telling everyone you stole it from her. I nodded. Okay. Tracy blinked like she expected me to panic. You're not even going to defend yourself? I said, the people who matter know the truth, the rest can enjoy the story. Tracy stared at me for a long moment, then spat. You're dead to us. I said, you've been using me like I was dead for years. Then I walked back into my suite. I finished my client's hair with steady hands. When she left, she quietly said, for what it's worth, you handled that like a boss. I didn't even feel triumphant. I felt lighter. At home, things got calmer. No more "we're coming Friday" texts. No more guilt trips about family traditions. Just quiet. Aiden stopped asking questions about Grandma. Maya stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. Caleb stopped hovering like he was waiting for another hit. And the lake house? We went up the next weekend. Just me and the kids. We made grilled cheese. We watched movies with blankets. We went down to the water and skipped rocks. Aiden smiled the whole time. That's when I realized something simple. The lake house had never been a family vacation home. It had been my family's favorite lever. And I finally took it out of their hands. A month later, Grandma had her 75th birthday somewhere else. I heard it was at a cheap banquet hall with dry chicken. Which feels correct. I didn't go. My mom sent one last text. You're going to regret this. I stared at it for a while. Then I replied, I regret letting you all treat my kids like they're less than. And I blocked her. I did it out of peace. Because the truth is, I can't teach my kids self-respect if I keep modeling self-betrayal. I used to think family meant enduring anything. Now I think family is supposed to be the place you feel safe. If you're not safe, it's not family. It's just a group of people sharing DNA and demanding access. Aiden is 6. He won't remember every detail of that reunion, but he will remember this part. When someone hurt him, his mom picked him up and left. Not to be dramatic. To be a parent. Grandma can tell her story. Tracy can call me bitter. My mom can pretend she's a victim. They can keep their version. I kept my children's dignity. And I kept my house. Moral. If someone can insult your kids to their face and still expect your money, your time, and your property, they don't love you. They love what they can take from you. So I stopped being available. And for the first time in my life, it feels like I can finally breathe.